How's it going, everybody? How's it going? Now, now. Um, our good friend here, Stuff and Such, Sam. He reached out to me on YouTube this morning and was concerned at how I was doing. I rest assure everybody I'm doing just fine. I When I had started doing these live streams, I forced myself to do them at whatever hour of the evening, and I didn't want to miss a day and all this kind of stuff. And I'm pretty sure I went for about a year straight, and I didn't miss a day. Now, I do have a construction business that, if anyone's in the trades, then you know that things pile up at some point. And I had a bit too much work on my plate this week and some jobs that were a bit far from home. Um, so, yeah, the last, I don't know, 3 or 4 days, I haven't been getting home until about 11 p.m. Eastern. And that's before doing any sort of scans and prep and stuff. So by the time I'd hop on, it would literally be midnight for a lot of the East Coasters, and I just didn't find much value add in cramming to make a video. So I figured I would just wait until I had some time. So I hopped on here 7:30 my time as usual, um, but I've skipped dinner for now. I will go down and make some dinner after this, but given that I was away, I didn't think people would really care, but it seemed like a few people did, so I thought I would hop on. Message to see if everything. You guys are too kind. Settings all screwed up again on this thing. Let me see what I can do here. We'll see. I'll work through it and see what happens. But yeah, so I'm here. I am doing just fine. I'm still trading every day, but I just needed some time in my evenings to try and catch up. So the last couple days, yeah, CRCL first red day today was a gap down. I had tried it yesterday, right here. So let me go to something like this. So we had 1 day, 2 day, week open, higher low. But then we got the day 3 gap in pre-market, and what's typically been happening in current market environments is that pre-market is where most of the range is, and that's exactly what happened here, where it went 260 right down to 230. So I figured high day was set, so I started looking at pops off the open, and right here, we got a couple little poppy chops, choppy pops. It was like a lot of indecision candles, but we did get this opening range low, so I hit the lows with risk on highs. Pretty tight risk reward for a name that trades this kind of range. Was risking about $9. Got stopped right here on this candle and moved on. As usual, I'm not around late day. Had I been around, I imagine this little breakdown here. I imagine this probably would have stopped me out. And then would have had to give it more attempts, like over here. I know, like Kyle Williams, I was trading this with him yesterday, and he took a couple losses on it on Thursday or Friday, Monday, Tuesday. He took it on Monday. He took a couple losses on it on Monday as well. It was a good opportunity. It just didn't work. If you looked on Twitter, you had the short bear. Lucas was trading it as well. He took a decent hit on that one as well. And then coming into today, as usual, if you're not involved in it overnight, you miss a lot of the meat on the bone. Thankfully, it did offer a pop, but there was nothing saying that this wasn't it. So we got this pullback. I was patient. We got a high day clear out, and I started shorting lower highs. Stopped out some, stopped out the rest over highs. I had hit some and added, and then it didn't stay heavy, so I sized down. And then on the swipe, obviously, have to follow the plan and cover. And then we get the same setup right here as right over here, where you get that little double top failed follow through. Then we get the same thing over here, a little double top failed follow through. So I hit it. I didn't cover any. We got some swipe backs. I covered it. And then we were going sideways, waiting for this little consolidation breakdown. And by about 11:30, I'm mobile. So I was not on desk at that point, and unfortunately missed this entire move. So took loss on it yesterday and today for no reason, and then ended up missing the opportunity because it happens midday. So unfortunate. Decent little opportunity if you were there, but nice trade nonetheless. INM, I was in this one. I've had hit or miss results with gappers. I had, what was the other one? I can't remember. There's another one a few days ago. I had tried shorting another gapper. I can't remember. But this one here, it's got tons of dilution. It's got an overhead resistance bar, history of giving back its daily candles. So I didn't short it off the open. I let it push off. We got a pre-market high clear out and stuff. So I shorted the next lower high with risk on highs. We just started getting these little wicks, and it wasn't staying heavy. So I sized down. And then we saw this little flush and then held. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to leave this thing alone. And turns out I was just a few minutes early, and it ended up pulling back rather nicely. So right idea, just didn't follow the plan on that one. So it is what it is. And then I had SY. This one was okay. Kind of an off radar runner. Ran from $1 to $2. Nice little gap up parabolic today. Same kind of action. Push. This one wasn't a double top, it was a high day clear out, but then you get that prior support break, and that's the failed fall through momentum. So I short, cover into the flush, rescale around that core, and it just doesn't stay heavy, holds higher lows, so I have to move on. And the same kind of thing as circle, starts to roll over here into midday, and I'm just not around. So goal was these 170s here, prior day's consolidation, so it pulled right back into it. But again, I just wasn't around for it, so it is what it is. Those are the trades there from today. I think I traded Circle yesterday. That chart is on Twitter, so if you check out my Twitter, you can see it. And then I traded what was the other one? Kerr, I think it was. Yeah, this was the other gapper. Another dilutive name. We've got some overhead resistance here, looking left, right into those 80-cent area, and we get a straight up move into it. So it starts to chop, speed up. I'm reacting up into this. I can zoom in there and you can see. So right here, I'm looking for that same kind of idea. The difference here is that it doesn't break its prior support level. So this loss arguably is avoidable, but we did get the straight up action into the prior daily highs, so I figured it was worth a shot. So got the push, the high day clear out, and then I'm shorting into this bounce, anticipating a breakdown rather than waiting for a breakdown. So then had to stop out here through highs. Then we get this pullback, lower highs, and then I'm shorting here through 80s, adding into the 70s, scaling all through here, sub 71, 72, which was the prior support, and then I covered it all down there in the 50s. So Kerr kind of saved the day there yesterday after taking my loss on Circle. So those are the two trades there from yesterday, just to kind of get everyone up to speed on what's been going on. Congrats to MTS on the trade. He got a nice trade off on Circle for the first red day. Golan, Sam, Jeff, what's going on? Dawson, have you noticed within this cycle that there aren't much faders, lots of chop sideways midday, holding well in after hours and possibly unload then? 100%. I put out a rant on Twitter. I think it was over the weekend. It could have been at the end of last week. But you can go back on my Twitter feed. And basically, I was getting frustrated last week with the moves that were coming. Like Relly basically was the straw that broke the camel's back for me. Where it runs up, we get that gap up parabolic. I'm leaning into it, behaving all day on that gap up day. Right here. So we get that big move up, parabolic, gapping up after hours. We get the pre-market blowout. I'm patient. We get that shove into open, that failed follow through. I'm shorting in here in the 320s. I'm adding into these pops, risking on highs. I'm staying patient, respecting risk. We get these nice hard crack, lower high, and it's just sideways all day. So I took it off into close. Whether it was a small win or a small loss, I don't remember, but plus or minus 5-10 cents didn't really matter. And then you get this pull. It goes from $3 here, right at the close, and then goes to 220 in after hours. If this went from 320 to 220 during the day, it would have been a monster trade. And then we're gapping down even farther the next day. So there just wasn't any meat on the bone. All of the meat here was in the after hours gap down in the next day's consolidation. But there's been tons of names like that, breakouts that are gapping over the breakout level, so I can't join them. First red days that are gapping, even Circle. Like, yes, it gave a pop off the open today, but at market open, it was gapping down 250 down from 265. That's not the best risk reward when it was just at 300 the day before. So, yes, I found that a lot of the range lately has been coming in after hours and pre-market and gaps and all that kind of stuff. So just a bit frustrating, but I think something you kind of have to adapt to. It's not necessarily something I want to change my strategy and start to hold stuff overnight, because most of the range is happening overnight. If you're caught on the wrong side of that gap, it puts a dent in your day. So not super interested in that either, but just kind of quicker with covers, and you would notice that with a few of my trades today. I'm a bit quicker on the cover side, just because the majority of the range hasn't been coming after the open. MTS made some on Jag X, longing it. Bottom bouncer. Huh, random pop. I guess maybe insiders loading or something. We will see. Chris, Wanda. What's going on, guys? Mr. Jibo, what's going on? So yeah, I did run through scans here quickly for a watch list. It's a lot of larger cap names that have been my focus lately. The small caps, like I say, they've just been gapping and a lot more sideways and choppy and just not as consistent for me. So Let's see here. Hope this isn't the norm for small caps. Yeah, I'm not sure. It's usually, markets are cyclical, and it'll come and go in waves. It's when certain edge gets tough, which is these mean reversion trades, which has been the tough trade for the last probably month or so. The first red days haven't been as clean, and typically traders tend to force what was working and try to do that now, and then they give back all the money that they made in the prior months, and then they no longer trade that setup, and then it comes back cyclicality, and it starts to work again. So it's just a matter of, if that setup's not working, don't force it and wait for 1, 2, 3 of them start to work. So circle today, 1, 2, 3 days, overextended gap down, pop first red to green, wait for the hard crack, lower high right here, short the failed follow through, and then let it work. So there's one. And if another one starts to work tomorrow, and then another one starts to work on Thursday, then it might be something that I start to put size back on. But it's just about protecting in those first red days right now, in my opinion. CoreWeave dumped same time as Circle. This one, I don't recall if I had updated on this, but I had bought this breakout here on CoreWave through 160s, 165, 166. We got the next day that was sideways, but I respected my low a day stop. Once we held here and started to re-break out, I put on a small ad and moved risk here to 165, 166, which was the breakout level after it held. And I sold up here in the 183s, 184s. That was a trade from last week. So I just kept it on watch because it's consolidating up here again. We could be getting something like this, where you get that big move, breaks out here, but doesn't go too much higher, consolidates, and then when it re-breaks out, that's when the big range expansion comes. So now that we've had this little breakout, went a little bit, but not too far, and then if it starts to re-break through those 180s, right here, like 184-ish, if it starts to break out, then could get going. But so far, it looks like it's kind of trading sympathetically to Circle. OST, I haven't taken this one off watch. This looks like a China pump, walks like a China pump, quacks like a China pump, so I think it is a China pump. Got a couple messages on it, but nothing from reliable sources in terms of like the promoters. So I'll continue to monitor it. I'm thinking probably like could be next month is kind of when a few of the good promos are coming out. So I'm thinking probably July, but I'll keep it on watch nonetheless. Kerr, don't need that one. Psy, I think could be a follow through red day, but again, it also could just gap down tomorrow into those 140s, 150s, and most of the range be overnight and just nothing to really trade. It's not super liquid anyways, but INM still up 60%. Little push here in after hours. So I'm leaning towards a short tomorrow using prior day's resistance. It's still up enough. It's got enough dilution to like double the float. So I will keep that one on watch. Carmel, one of the only recent runners here that's actually holding up. A bunch of the other small caps have just given back their entire moves. So I'm keeping this one on watch, but no immediate plan. EYEN. Over here had proven that it could run for multiple days, but it went on its first green day and then broke out, and then first green day and then broke out. And what it did over here was we had that pop versus red to green and then a pullback. And this one here has gone straight up from 4 to 11-ish. So if I get a red move, I'll look for pops versus red to green. And if this fails sub 850, I think goes sub 8 down to like 750, 780s, something like that. So I'll keep this on watch for first red day. I put SRM because it pulled back for a couple days, but just very limited range. CAR, this one's starting to get interesting. If you look back a few years ago, over here, this one blew up a lot of shorts, went from 170 to 550. This is Avis, the rental car company. So it's not supposed to move like this, but the market broke and it happened. And now we're starting to get another little multi-day run here. So I don't think it'll happen again. I think shorts will be afraid of a repeat. Now it's running 120, starting to speed up here the last couple days. And if you look intraday, very steady trends, sets its low a day off the open, sets its low a day off the open, sets its low a day off the open, and just grinds the rest of the day. I like that it's starting to speed up. You can see slowly, perks a little, speeds a little, and then really starts to speed. So possible first red day on watch here as well. Any tip for a small cap trader who's trying to build bankroll? I feel like I'm trading too many things. Green daily, but small size across 5 to 8 tickers versus sizing 1 to 3. Yeah, when I was like spinning my wheels trying to kind of turn that corner, I always preach like that it's so important to track your trades. You don't it is helpful to track the setup and know what should happen, but I think it's almost more important to track your specific trades and what you're good at. And I think it'll be pretty obvious once you get some numbers staring you in the face that show you where your biggest gains are and where your biggest losses are, and then you stop doing what you suck at and you do more of what you're good at. If you're good at first red days, maybe right now you're red on that setup, so you might not want to trade it. Maybe each day, so you're saying you're up small. Maybe you make $150 on a breakout. Like maybe you bought EYEN here through 8 and sold it into 10, made like $150. Or for simple math, 100 shares, 8 to 1050, $250. And then you go over to, I don't know, INM. Maybe you short a gapper right here off open, and you're risking pre-market highs, and you get stopped out right there, and you lose $200. Now you're up $50 in the day. You're up small, but you made $250 somewhere, and you lost $200 somewhere. So now you track those trades on what you did that day, and I made $250 on a breakout, but I lost $200 on a gapper. And if that starts to repeat over and over again, that your breakouts are where your winners are and your gappers are where your losers are, you stop doing your gappers and you trade more breakouts and you put more size behind those. Now, you won't be trading 8 tickers a day, but when that one setup comes around and you're sitting on it, then you can put some risk on the table and swing the bat hard. Focus on the process. Some stocks that usually pop and fade. Stay away from new names, China stocks, and certain CEOs. That's what MTS says. Since I started watching Dawson, I stopped doing almost all setups. Focused just on one, the first green day bounce. After it proved itself 4 to 5 months, I added another setup and so on. Love it. Love it, Golan. Love it. Yeah, the first green day bounce, they don't come around super often. I know Dom traded RGC this morning. I wasn't really interested in trying to bounce this. What other first green days have we had? EYEN was one there yesterday. Just wasn't quite enough daily range for me. I'm fairly picky on those first green days. I want it to set up like perfect for me to trade them. Um, but yeah, there's been a few. I haven't traded a ton lately, but you probably get, I don't know, maybe one a week, two a week. And if you're trying to make $1,000 a trade, $2,000 a trade, and you just wait and wait and wait, and then that one trade comes, you know, make a grand. I want to trade using an LLC. What can I write off with that? I don't know. I am in Canada. I've got different tax rolls than Americans. Now you swing setup because you haven't traded first green day bounce. Nice, nice. Yeah, the breakouts have been working really well. Um, for the large cap swings especially, that run for like 2, 3, 4 days is typically when I've been locking them in. But if you've got a bigger picture idea, for weeks or months, they've been working really well. Um, there's no real reason to sell CoreWeave. It's held its 10-day moving average. Wow, since like over here when it broke it. I'm looking at my other chart on the other screen. It hasn't broken its 10-day moving average since it broke here. So if you played any of these, if you bought this breakout and then have trailed it versus the 10-day, you still wouldn't have gotten stopped out. But yeah, the breakouts have been working pretty well. I've been trading a few of those. But yeah, first green day bounces, they haven't come around too often. But like you say, you get confidence in the setup when you see it work and you see the P&L start growing. Then you're like, yeah, I can do more of this. Like you almost trust yourself because you're not trading that setup and then giving it back in others, and you just mentally think you're unprofitable. When in reality, you're profitable somewhere. You just have to find out what that edge is in yourself. MTS is counter to. I trade under like a sole proprietorship. I don't trade under an LLC. But if you find a good accountant, then you can ask them. I know like in Canada you get like a 13% tax on uh, LLCs, but you're still trading with capital gains, so you're gonna get hammered with capital gains tax. It's at like 50% right now. So, or is that 66% right now? I can't remember. Dawson, can you talk a bit more about the Canadian tax rules to the best of your knowledge? Yeah, for trading, it's tough in Canada because um, it's all capital gains tax. So there's no real exemption unless you have write-offs to offset your gains, which I think MTS had mentioned. Trips, because if I trade from a hotel room, that counts as a business expense. I don't think so. Not in Canada. Just because you trade while you're traveling does not make it a business expense. In my in to my knowledge. If I go to a conference or looking for clients or something like that, I would see it as a business expense. But yeah, capital gains is taxed up the yin yang in Canada. So the to my knowledge, I'm not a tax professional, but to my knowledge, you just do your best to have enough write offs to offset your income because capital gains tax is huge. Notice from reviewing my trades that I'm much more profitable when I wait for failed follow through as my entry signal versus shorting just because it's red. Win rate is really important under PDT. Either an overextended stock on the daily, parabolic on the intraday, or pushing into a previous resistance and looking for a failed fall through as an entry signal is my process. Yeah, 100%. Because I trade the same entry on a push, pull, failed follow through. I trade the same on first green days. Like if you were to look at Iron today, you get this pullback, lower high, pullback, lower low, higher high right here. This is like an inverted failed fall through setup. That's how I like to enter longs too. It's a good entry criteria because you get a trigger that I need to buy through here, and you get a stop at low day or high day. Man, get rental property and blow all your profits on write-offs at the end of the year. Saves you from capital gains. I do have a rental property. But yeah, the whole argument with taxes and stuff. I've talked with people that are have a lot more money than me and have dealt with tax code and stuff for so long. Um, yeah, you're not taxing right off at your own risk. Yeah, um, and it's one of those things where you you make money, so you bring in $100. So now you're gonna get taxed $50 and you're gonna keep $50. Or you spend $50 on tools and now you've got $50 and now you get taxed, maybe $25. So now you're left with $25, but you have tools worth $50. But you're still out more money with write-offs by buying stuff. So either way, the money is gone. Just on one end, you're getting stuff for the money. On the other end, you're paying taxes but keeping a little bit more cash. So I do my best with write-offs on stuff that makes sense, and like income producing assets, something like a trailer or tools or something like that in the future will make more money, but then that just puts me into higher tax brackets anyways. So yeah, I don't know. I have an accountant, and they're very good. They're very reputable. They don't take on new clients. You need referrals and stuff, and they've done my family's stuff for years. Um, so I trust them. I don't. Yeah, I don't take tax advice from people online. I much more trust my accountant, who is a 30-year veteran in the space and knows Canadian tax code far better than I do. And that's why I pay people good money to do that. So, your short setups, how did you slowly change your habit of trying to top tick and getting cut up on the front side, just waiting for failed follow through and then joining the trend? I think it just comes from you getting frustrated and fed up with yourself. Um, you try it. Oh, I still do it every once in a while where I try to hit a top and I end up getting stopped out. And for me, I just did it over and over and over again, probably 40, 50 times. And I'm like, okay, this clearly isn't working. I just keep spending money on the markets. And the lesson was don't try to top tick. Wait for the right side of the V, like Lance says. Wait for the failed fall through, like Nate says. These are guys that have traded for a decade plus. Maybe they know what they're talking about. And then you start doing it and you make money and you realize what you were doing. That's why you were losing, and it was a simple fix. So I think just keep doing what is costing you money, and then eventually you'll get fed up and you'll stop doing it. Can I look at CTOR? Thought it was going to break out. Very little liquidity. Big volume day, holding sideways. Yeah, liquidity trap-ish. Holding up pretty well. In its history, it likes to pop and fade, pop and fade. So, it could break out, but the breakout is 343. So, did it break out today? No. It did the same thing it did yesterday. It pushed, pulled back, pushed, pulled back. So, if you're playing a breakout, in my opinion, don't try to anticipate the breakout. Wait for the level to trigger or a level to trigger, and then join that trend. You don't need to be in there early. If it's going to work, it's going to go a lot further than 340. If you're writing off salaries and hiring family members, smart write off, still making the life quality of life better. Couple business, yeah. I don't know. You do you. I don't really like talking tax stuff because then you get into all those legalities and stuff. Need like a disclaimer that I'm not a tax professional. I'm not a trade professional. I'm just here to talk shop and have fun. So I don't really like talking tax stuff unless it's with like friends or people in person. I love talking money, um, but with online stuff, people tend to get the wrong impression and think you're bragging or something like that. So as far as watches tomorrow, Circle I think could be a pops for failed follow through. I think could go sub 200. Looking left, I think we got this little liquidity pocket here from 210 to 160. So far, we've bottomed out there at 210. Odds favor a gap down, but I'll look at any strength and look for a similar thing here, like a strength off open, hard crack lower highs, and look for some failed follow through. Um, SY, I don't know if the liquidity will be there tomorrow, but you could use like these 190s as a guide. I think this should go sub 150, but we'll see. INM, day one gap or with lots of dilution, history of one and dones, so look for strength, failed follow through. EYEN, higher the better. Ideally, get like a gap up parabolic, and then can look to fade opening range breakdowns. But if we go red, I think I'll kind of be forced to have an eye on it, given how it happened when it fake out, breakout, and pulled back there. And then CAR, ideally gap up parabolic and opening range breakdown. Um, yeah, similar to EYEN. Stop trading first day gappers and losses have gone down. Absolutely. That was the same results I had trading day one gappers. Love to hear it. Fats learning a lot. Did you think when it was over did you think when it was overextended on the breakout I didn't trade the dip because I felt like it was already overextended, but I was wrong? He's talking about CTOR, but I don't really understand the question. Yeah, sorry, I don't understand. If this were to run from 270 to 340, I would also think it's overextended and I wouldn't chase that. But if you were to get a push, maybe tops out at 340, consolidates in the afternoon, and then rebreaks out, now you can risk those intraday lows on that breakout trigger. But for a stock that does go straight up through the breakout level, like something like EYEN, that's why I didn't take it today because it went straight from 570 to 8. I'm not interested in trading that. Maybe you risk like another low here, but there's still no consolidation from 650 to 8, and I'm not looking to risk a buck 50 a share. Um, yeah, around 8ish. It was too straight up. Yeah, I didn't take it either just because it was too straight up, and I don't like buying straight up spikes into breakouts. They typically stuff a lot. Um, but yeah, it worked. but I don't think it's going to be sustained. Like if you look at over here, we're at chop, 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 and then boom, big move straight up through the breakout level. And then you get the next day, pushes, rounds over. You get this little failed follow through. Push, lower highs, breaks prior support, and starts to roll over. So I'll be looking for something like that tomorrow. Yeah, buying straight up spikes works till it doesn't. Exactly right. EYEN, it works today. You'll try it tomorrow. And Dux did an interview with what's that guy's name? He's like an up and comer in the podcast space. He's doing really well. Rizdom, I think his name was. And Dux was on there as a guest. And he said when he takes a trade and either doesn't follow his plan or takes a trade that doesn't fit his setup, when he reviews his trades, he treats them all as like rule breaks and wash trades because they don't fit a process. So in the long run, he's going to end up giving that money back anyways. And I think that's buying straight up spikes into breakouts. Is like buying that $8 break on EYEN, I think worked today. But if you trade a straight up spike from 5 to 8 and then look for 8 to 10, I think in the next 5 years, I think that net P&L on that strategy and entry criteria is going to be negative. I think it's negative EV. So yeah. Alrighty, I think I love the view count on this. We had like 20 concurrents and 50 plus views live. So really good turnout here. I'm glad it's a highlight of some people's evening that it felt important enough to reach out and make sure I was okay, but I assure you I am okay. I will do my best to make some more watch lists this week. No promises. I'm extremely extremely busy this week. And by the time I get to the weekend, I'll be able to catch up. Yeah, go eat. I have to eat dinner. I have to go make dinner and eat. So thank you guys. Appreciate you coming by. I hope that helped prep you guys for tomorrow. And I will see some of you in Investors Underground in the morning. And the rest of you, I'll see on the next watch list. Take it easy, guys. Peace.